The ONS revealed this week that the UK's GDP grew by just 0.1% in Q4 2024, mostly thanks to a 0.4% boost in the services sector over the Christmas period. Many economists actually predicted a 0.1 decrease or no movement at all, so this tiny bit of growth was a surprise. But it's not all good news, because while GDP increased, the UK's population also increased by 1% in the past year, which means that even though the economy grew slightly, GDP per person actually fell by 0.1%, so the average person is now worse off because economic output per person is shrinking. As these numbers show, this is one of the weakest Q4 performances in years as the economy struggles to recover from the pandemic. On top of this, the Bank of England is keeping interest rates high, making borrowing more expensive. So our mortgages, our rents and our credit cards are still expensive, and small businesses aren't able to expand because borrowing costs too much, so many of them are having to shut up shop entirely. So the big question is, if GDP is growing but wages are barely moving, who's getting the money? Big corporations and financial elites, of course. The numbers are pretty clear. The profits of FTSE 100 companies have surged by over 60% since 2019, reaching 290 billion last year, while average wages have only grown by 23% in the same period, which means that corporate profits are rising nearly 3 times faster than wages. Big businesses are continuing to keep their prices high and using inflation as an excuse even when some of their costs are actually falling. And while they're making record profits, us workers are made to pay even more tax, because since 2019 the amount of tax the average worker pays on their income has risen from 20 to 24%, because wages are rising but tax thresholds have been frozen since 2021. The number of people above the 40% tax threshold alone has jumped from 4.1 million in 2019 to 6.8 million in 2024. This is a 66% increase. And the Conservatives were the ones who originally froze the tax rates, but Labour are now the ones continuing it because this allows them to increase taxes on workers without officially raising taxes, otherwise known as a stealth tax. To add insult to injury, between 2010 and 2017, corporation tax was slashed from 28% to just 19%. It went back up to 25% in 2023, but the government has now promised to cap it at 25% for the rest of Parliament until 2029. So while you're paying more, corporations are paying less than they did a decade ago. The future doesn't look particularly bright either, because there'll be slow growth, so wages won't rise much. High costs will continue to squeeze our budgets, and this will result in more inequality, meaning the rich get richer while more people struggle. You're working harder, paying more, and getting less because that's exactly how the system is designed. The UK economy is not designed to work for you, it's designed to keep wealth concentrated at the top. But there are 3 things you can do. 1. Don't buy into the media spin, because 0.1% growth is not a recovery, it's stagnation. 2. Demand better policies such as lower interest rates, fairer taxation, and actual investment in the economy. And 3. Stay informed, because if you don't understand how the system works, you'll always be at the mercy of those who do. And one way you can stay informed is by following me on here and by listening to my podcast, Make Politics Boring Again.